Here we go. Shake and bake. We're live. Hey, folks. Happy New Year in Dumpster Fire version 2.0. We are back with the dev stream in 2021 after a little break. My name is Nick Taylor. I'm a senior software engineer at Forum. Forum is the software that powers dev. And as always, I'm here with my co-host, Christina. You want to say hi, Christina?
Sure. I'm Christina Gorton, the open source community manager at Forum. That is what I do. I just manage all the fun stuff having to do with open source in the community. I do want to say one quick plug because we are changing things a little. If you have discussions, things you want to talk about, features, we have had a huge backlog of things that just don't get seen. And so we're encouraging people to go to forum.dev and have discussions there. One, it's our forum platform, so that's great. Two, your stuff will actually get seen and not be in the depths of 800 open issues that are just overwhelming. So that's my little plug there. And then we're going to talk about Gant now. Go ahead.
So, hi, Gant. Thanks so much for coming on the stream. If you want to
You
just,
got it.
just say hi to the folks and just let everybody know who you are and what you do, and then we'll jump right into it.
Yeah. Hi, everybody. Hi, Mom. Hi, Dad. I told them I sent them the link, of course. I just wanted to say, so Gant Laborde. I live in New Orleans. Ooh, spooky voodoo background.
Crawfish.
I've been there twice.
Crawfish.
It's amazing.
It is. This is a wonderful, wonderful place. If you come visit, actually, some of the best conferences always come through here.
That's why I went for conferences.
Exactly. we have like Ruby comes here constantly, CSS Conf, a ton of great places. This is a wonderful place for technology conference, and food's great, and everything's pretty cheap too. So, especially with COVID, where I haven't seen all the conferences I love got canceled. So
yeah,
I'm super happy with people doing extra online events, attending lots more online events. It's made me sort of be able to bring a little bit of New Orleans around the world. One of the cool things that I get to do is I work at Infinite Red. I am the chief innovation officer for a wonderful company called Infinite Red. I'm going to lay it out there. We are the number one company for React Native development. Sorry, other React Native companies, fight me. Boom, right? We're also number one at Rocket League too, in React development. If you want to challenge us in that too, we're totally down. We're ready to bring you on for Rocket League or React Native. One of the things that we do is, as a consulting company, we keep a strong focus on what's going on in the past, sort of like what we've done that's worked, and that's created a lot of our open source. So we create tons and tons of open source. We have Ignite, which has like 12,000 stars on GitHub. We have Reactatron, which was used in almost every React Native app. I love people are putting these tools all over the place. We keep finding out new places where Ignite and Reactatron are being used, and that's awesome. And then one of the great things is, as some of you might have met before, our CTO Jamin Holmgren, amazing guy, super awesome. He's leading our team as sort of like that informational data and sort of like how can we deliver the best product for our clients. And my job's a little bit more fun. Sorry, Jamin. Is that I get to focus a little bit on the front of that. We're like the two faces of Janus here, where I get to look at what's coming down the pipeline. And one of the cool things that I get to do is say that we've seen cool things, of course, in JavaScript, but also in AI. And being JavaScript pros and seeing AI become like everywhere, we know that within the next 5 years, your average Joe developer and Jane developer are going to have to know JavaScript, or like specifically JavaScript and AI and how they interact, because it's going into every product. As a matter of fact, I can't write an email today without my email sentence getting filled out for me way better than I would have written it. I'm like, tab, you're right, Google. I was going to use that word.
Yep.
That's exactly what I was going to say. Tab. So my position as Chief Innovation Officer is a sort of like a fun title of the mad scientist of Infinite Red. And with that comes a lot of public speaking, a lot of sort of going to conferences, seeing what people are creating, and then bringing that back so that way we can, we can really test and forge new technology from that stuff. So, long story long, that's that's my title.
Well, it does
First,
sound
I
like you
love
have
the
fun.
title. Yeah, I like the title. I mean, what better thing to be like, I'm the Chief Innovation Officer. You seem like you're like, you work at Pixar or something. That's awesome.
Maybe he does. I don't know.
That's right. You never know. Well, we can't disclose all of our clients.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah,
this is true.
yeah. No, but that's cool. So I guess my first real hard hitting question is: do you really ride a unicorn like on some of your
Yeah, yeah,
avatars?
that's the unicorn of truth and science. So if you've
Okay.
never seen me, and what's really funny is my avatars have been around for, I want to say, like 7 years now. So you can actually, I have avatars with no beard, avatars with all black hair, and then slowly, and now my latest two have me with my shock of gray in it. It's a weird way of like telling my age is to watch these cool avatars. But I have like, I want to say like 70 or so avatars done from a friend in Japan who
Okay.
is a wonderful artist. And so I wish I could draw like that. I cannot. But she does all that stuff, and then it's gonna be, I put it on everything that I do because they're so cool.
Yeah, no, they're
So
really
You have
nice.
a
I
list of them on your website, right?
yes, I call them Gant
Okay.
avatars.
Okay.
They're like
Cat
avatars,
Drop
but
in
for
your
Gant.
website then for people to see.
Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Definitely check it out. And if you go to Gant avatars, you can see all of them.
No, they really are nice. I was actually curious who made them or if it was you
Yeah.
or so.
I
No,
can
they're
connect you with her. She's awesome, and I'm sure she would do some paid work. I usually like send her coffee money each time
Yeah.
and get set up, but she's really cool, and she teaches English in Japan.
no way.
Yeah.
Yeah, not same story, but my wife she taught English in Korea, but she also gave ski
Oh.
lessons at the same time. So because there's like a man-made hills there, or I'm not sure if they're man-made there. Uh, but anyways, yeah, she taught English there too, and it was like a mix of it. So it was kind of a cool job while she was in.
That's
I think it was
awesome.
after university, so pretty cool.
That's so cool. Like the weird things from around the world, and that ski lessons go along with that. Like I need ski lessons here in New Orleans. It snowed like, if we get this much snow, everything shuts down. Everything shuts down here. And it's not because we don't know how to drive on it. That is true too. It's because everybody's just like, you're not going to do anything. You're going to go outside and stand in it.
Yeah,
That's it.
Yep.
We're,
Yep.
we're
no,
not
for
going to
sure.
pretend that there's going
As
to be
a
work
native
today.
Floridian, I can contest that anytime you see snow, you just stop and
Yeah.
you just play.
As a native Canadian, you just drive through it. I'm that guy in the middle of winter taking the garbage out in his boxer shorts in the middle of the morning. That's me. That's me.
Yeah,
I'm the
you're
reason I
the
live in
normal day
Costa
in
Rica
Russia.
now.
Yeah, the
Yeah, yeah.
So,
subreddit. It's all dedicated to you. Just have, you call it a hot tub because you just sit in it. It's the ice broke right here, and you just jump right in. I believe this. I believe it.
Awesome.
all
So
right. So now that we got our intros,
Yes,
I
indeed.
had no cool segue to get to AI, but I'll have to work
I'm
on
getting
that.
there. Shush.
All
Yeah.
right. Shh.
We are now going to talk about AI,
Yes,
TensorFlow,
indeed.
all these things that Nick and I don't know much about, but we want to know more about, and
Oh
hopefully you
yeah.
all do too. So Gant is
Teach
going
us,
to teach
Gant.
us, yes, all the
Yeah.
things.
Well, let me start this off with a little bit of inspiration, right? I've been developing for a while, and I was like, there are certain things you can and can't do with technology. And then computers started doing things that I was like, you can't do that. I think the first time that really just shocked, I mean, you got these Instagram filters that are doing immediate detection of your face and adding things to it and adjusting it and blurring it. And then you've got all these other like cool technologies that are out there. And I was watching Silicon Valley, and they did that like hot dog not hot dog joke app.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a real app that
Yeah.
actually works. They wrote it, and they wrote it in React Native. And I opened the source code, and I was like, "What is happening here? Like, how do you teach it to do this or do that?" And it was just blowing my mind. So I read everything that I could. I was like, this is real. This really works. You take a photo and it really works. So that sort of opened up this new world. And I realized that there was this underbelly. So like, I don't know if you remember Blade, the movie. It was like,
Yeah.
the world you live in is a candy coated topping. You need to wake up. There's vampires everywhere. Ah. So like I woke up, right? And I looked around and I was like, dude, there's AI everywhere. And it's doing crazy cool stuff that you could never do before. And like, for instance, a bunch of developers were like, we're going to beat all the humans at Go and chess and, like,
Yeah.
StarCraft. Like, what do you want? We're going to teach computers how to beat you at this. And we're going to make them click at the speed a human should be able to click, like in the range of like what you give us. It's just going to be better at strategy than you and this, that. It's just like, so I was looking around and I was like, these developers don't know how to play Go. A person spent their entire life learning how to play Go. And there's a great documentary on this. And what happens is then all of a sudden they beat that best person. It's this frog leap where we are empowered with technology, which I think is like one of the most amazing and cool features of like why we got into computers is to do amazing and cool things that you couldn't do by yourself. You were able to get these superpowers, and this is like superpowers 2.0. And I think that like now that you're kind of able to mix these things with machine learning and web, like now I can create something ridiculous and then release it to the world, make amazing, cool stuff. And then people are going to kind of check it out, give feedback and do stuff like that. And it's addictive. It's amazing. And you start to see it more and more, like how people are making money off of this, how companies are actually becoming disruptors, coming to a scene that everybody's already been at. And they're like, we're doing that, but we're doing it with AI. And we're able to do it 50 times faster and scalable.
Yeah.
And you're like, well, that's amazing. Like, where else can I plug this in? And the weirdest part about it is it's like the invention of the iPhone or the invention of the internet. It just keeps plugging in new places that are just limited by our imagination.
Yeah.
So one of the things is that I would say, like, I've come up with so many creative uses that I've got a list of 20, and I'm never going to get a chance to create them all because the list is growing faster than I have time to create stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that that's an interesting aspect of all this. So, yeah, AI is coming, and I think it's really awesome.
Yeah, I feel like it's everywhere.
Cool. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah.
Like I can give a perfect example. I'm not doing this to plug their software,
Do
but
it.
and it's actually built into Discord now, crisp.ai, which does
Yes.
noise canceling. It's like Christina uses it as well. It's like amazing. and like I don't know, that's even another facet of like, I mean, like we said, we're not well versed in this stuff at all, but like I'm even like the difference between comparing pictures versus sound, like I'm sure once you learn some fundamentals, then you're like, oh, but like right now I'm just like, how the heck did they do that? It's like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's also cool just kind of pointing out the fact that even until you said it before we even started, and I wasn't even thinking about it, just all the places AI already is that we use every day. I think we're a little bit like unaware of like, because we're just so used to those things being there, we don't think of them as being like, oh, this is AI. Like we were talking about, our Gmail finishing our sentences for us and stuff.
Yeah.
Like we just don't think about those things. And I think that's really cool.
it's like they
That's
programmed
the-
my
the-
English teacher in there.
Yeah, that's the trick though. Like what I'll say is that that's a well done trick is like
Yeah.
Everybody just kind of accepts it. And one of the things that I'll kind of go with that is saying that when we're seeing it implemented, it's it's ridiculous how many places. Like I think that one of the key things you can do now is start to learn about it, and then you'll see it everywhere. It's like learning a new word.
That's
Yeah.
true.
Yeah.
So for me, with machine learning, when I think of machine learning, a lot of times I think of like, okay, when you go on somewhere and they tell you you have to pick like the different, stop signs and stuff. Or I have like the other extreme because I am in the like kind of creative coding community where people are doing these really like crazy stuff. Where do you see like all these kind of fitting in, and where do you like to play around with and what you do with AI?
Oh yeah. Well, I love the developer interaction, the product interaction, the sort of like demystification of what's actually happening there. One of the things is being a consultant, being a consultancy as a company. It's a glorified learning and teaching company in a lot of ways. One of the things that we do is we demystify. We come in, we help teams, we bring in best practices. So sort of like part and parcel of what it is to be a consultant is to say like, hey, can I explain this? In one way or another. And I think that that's one of the things that kind of comes out of this is because when you come from academia, you have this ridiculous sort of like, where's your PhD? And before you can get involved, and that barrier to entry is going to fall. It's always going to fall. It used to be when you wanted to get into this, you had to have a PhD. Then they were only hiring people with masters. And now like I have a college degree, but it's like 1.5 years old. I think yeah, it's right there next to the scrolls, and it's in Sanskrit.
The Dead
So
Sea Scrolls.
right. So like when I applied to be a Google developer expert for machine learning, it was all the questions were and interactions were way more involved in like sort of like this expression of like, what have you created, what have you done. It's getting way more developer centric. It's getting way more sort of like set up to be a piece of everyday life. And then as those kinds of things happen, I think that that's where I like to be. I like to be on podcasts and video casts where we can sort of explain these things,
Yeah.
and we can actually interact with them, because like when you're doing like a CSS, like you need to have like an interactive demo. And when you're doing all these other things, you need to have interactive demos. But if I were like, hey, we're going to create a neural network from scratch, I think we will lose 99.9% of your audience. And the 0.9% means I would clock out myself.
Yeah. Where's the
So,
hot dogs? Where's the hot dogs?
right. Yeah. And so like I think like the demos, and I create so many demos. I have lots of stuff if you want to see some stuff, and it would be we can go through
Oh
it all.
yeah, for sure.
But it just really kind of to illustrate like what is happening. And I think that this is exciting because once you see it, you know where to apply it. You're going to come up, each of you can come up with 50 new ideas on where to apply some of these ideas that I wouldn't have come up with. And that's just kind of where we're at with the technology. It's an imagination driven technology right
Yeah,
Yeah.
which I
So
love. This is why I'm interested in it, because that's the kind of stuff I love.
yeah,
now.
and in terms of technology, so like obviously JavaScript is the kind of a big language of the web.
Hmm.
So in terms of software, if somebody were to start like, hey, I'm, I don't have my PhD, I'm on
Yes.
GitHub, where do I start? Like what's kind of like your go-to tools to maybe just start with
Yeah.
a fun little example, for example. I said
Well,
example
what I'd
twice.
say specifically is let me limit this question down to one. Is it a person who's coming there because they love math? If it is, then academia is not a bad answer. Like, if you want to go through all the math, there's like this Stanford course by Andrew Ng, takes about 52 hours worth of work to go
Okay.
ahead and get the certificate on that. And when you come out of it, you will have a deep mathematical grasp and understanding. I think it's free on Coursera as well.
Okay.
And if you want your certificate, it's like $70 or something. But
Mhm.
that sort of like process is great for that person. And if they want to go ahead and read papers as they come out and stuff like that, that's a good avenue. But if you are looking to like bring this to web, for instance,
Yeah.
I would say like there's a couple of really great features here. One, I have tons of resources on that, so definitely follow me on Twitter. Definitely check this out. I promise I have a million things for you on that. You could watch the Made with TFJS hashtag on Twitter. That's a great one. Made with TFJS. I also
Okay.
have an online course that I made for sort of like getting people started from the web side of things.
Okay.
That's a cool avenue. So there's a lot of resources there for the web sort of kind of person, and it comes at it as web, you don't know AI. So
Okay.
here's the advantages, and here's what's going on for you. And then the last one I'll say is if you want to build the coolest, newest, greatest, fastest, most interesting thing, and you don't care if it's going to have a website, you just want to have it,
Yeah.
then I would say the Fast AI course is probably going. It teaches everything in PyTorch. It's 100% free. It's done by the creator of Kaggle. It is a great course for you to sort of like get insanely good at kind of building these things. You won't The path to get those kinds of technology to web is very obfuscated, and I
Okay.
can help you with it. But that's three different avenues. Like, am I just totally eating everything that AI has got out there? Yes, go ahead and take Fast AI because you'll be able to make it through the complexities of it. If you need sort of like the dopamine hit of web and build silly websites and build things, I think our TensorFlow JS stuff is great. And then the Stanford course is really good for anybody who's like, I won't I won't drink any Kool-Aid. I can't like code from scratch myself. Then Stanford will teach you how to code everything by yourself, no frameworks.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that you offer these different paths, kind of like ease into it
Yeah.
however you want to. So, and
Yes.
it's all on the web accessible, so that's awesome as well.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a ton of great books too. If we ever got into the book section, I could probably tell you a ton. Lawrence Moroney just did this book, and I'm loving it. Got quite a few over there in the back as well. But I read just about every book on machine learning from
Okay.
O'Reilly and A Press and Manning as well. So if you're a book person, message me on Twitter. I'll send you which ones to take.
Cool, cool. Yeah, I know there's I think I have it here. I haven't done
Charlie's
any
book.
machine learning. Yeah, I got Charlie's book, Practical
Oh yeah,
Machine
Charlie's book.
Learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I
so
haven't read it yet, but
I have. It's a great. It's you know what I'll say. It's like a great whirlwind tour into all the different things that currently exist. The models that are out there. Use it as an inspirational guide, even if you're not ready to code or anything like that. And if you don't understand a particular example, that's totally okay. It's more of like you've got the elements to go ahead
okay.
and like go after that. And then Charlie is very accessible on Twitter as well, so I'd say good chance to go ahead and reach out and start to build a connection.
Cool.
Yep.
Yeah,
Nice.
So I have a question because as I was like looking into it a little bit, I
yeah,
seen a couple different like um, answers for this. What language do you feel like you need to have like to know to start getting into this? So I've heard people say Python. You can work with
yeah.
JavaScript. Do you feel like
Yeah.
there's one specific that's better to learn, or do you feel like not really?
That's a great question because the truth is there's a little bit of a conflict that I'll put here for you. Data science for a long time
Mhm.
has been coming up through the Python world, which is currently the second most popular programming language in the world, according to Octaverse and stuff like that. And
Okay.
then you have like the winner, the heavyweight champion of the world for forever is JavaScript, right? Like it's been sitting there for a long time, and it's also the most ubiquitous and available programming language. You could put it on your drone, you could put it on a little like device like this, and just code some silly stuff. So you could do all kinds of cool things like that, and JavaScript just goes everywhere. It's approachable. It's available to everyone. So I would say that Um, the mass of AI information exists in the Python world from the momentum and the sort of like productized version of everything, sort
Yeah.
of applied to edge devices and every person and security and privacy and client side code is has always existed and still majoritatively exists in JavaScript.
Okay.
You, depending on your goal, might have to marry different parts of each. if you
Cool.
if you want to create a model that turns a person into a zombie, perhaps, and you're charging for that service, well, maybe your back end is in Python, and then your front end, of course, you're writing JavaScript, and it's hitting an API resource. But
Yeah.
let's say you've created this as, let's say you're doing makeup application, right? And so the problem is, the more people that hit your server, the slower it gets, the more you have to worry about. So you want to move that to the front end. And now you want people's GPUs and their personal machines to process the makeup application directly in a browser, because all you want your backend doing is making sales. Like, here's
Yeah.
the lipstick I want to buy. I love how this looks on me. I'm ready to purchase. So they hit the purchase button and now they're hitting your server. And you want to make sure that never crashes or anything like that. So now it makes sense for you to go into JavaScript, because you can offload all that stuff. You can keep it private. Pictures of the person aren't flying over the internet to some server somewhere, and you don't have to purge it and worry
Yeah.
about like your privacy policy. So right now you're seeing a mix between the two, and it really kind of depends on your product on where that's most important. I'd say, like, do your research, find out what you want to create. If it's a product, come talk to a company. You don't have to talk to Infinite Red, but talk to a company that understands what the benefits and the trade-offs of something like that will be, and we will help you. We'll help you ascertain like what it's going. If you're doing it for education purposes, then I think go after, come up with your fun ideas, and then follow the technology that gets you there. Don't be
Yeah.
afraid to open up a Python and take a look at it and write some Python code, and don't be afraid of JavaScript. If you're a JavaScript Python person, it's not that hard to switch between the two. It really isn't. It's you got this.
Yeah. And uh, quick question, because you were speaking, it totally makes sense what you're saying about offloading that
Hmm.
work to the browser and to the client,
Yeah.
for one, for security reasons, but also just offloading resources. I'm curious if I feel like people are probably digging into Rust and Wasm with this, probably
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
that's because I imagine that would just run a lot faster as
Oh
well.
yeah. Yes, indeed. Now, one of the great things about using a framework. So if you're a code everything from scratch kind of person, like you've written all your own JavaScript, you've written all that stuff, then sure, that's where you're at. But if you use a
Yeah.
framework, like you like to use React, and you could use other things, you get these sort of like ancillary benefits of effectiveness and sort of stuff like that. Same thing happens in the web world. If you wanted to, use WASM, and you've got WebAssembly kind of running, you want to touch all that straight down to it, Rust is great. If you just want to write TensorFlow JS and then move the backend to be powered by WASM, done. Move it to
Yeah.
GPU, done. Move it to CPU, done. And then they have like the cool items, and Google Cloud has TPUs, right? So you can
Mhm.
access all these different sort of like backend infrastructures. So I would say, like, yes, but the frameworks kind of protect you a little bit from having to feel like you've lost a lot of time and energy and speed, because they kind of take on that cost. The same reason we tend to use React Native for our mobile apps is that
Okay.
we are building at this higher level, and in the meantime, we've got this approachable interface down to iOS, Android, Windows, Mac. Like, we don't have to like go to every single developer summit to keep our mobile apps working. Same thing
Yeah.
happens over when you're using a framework like TensorFlow JS.
Cool. Um, Now I guess let's dig into a bit of like what are the
Yeah.
pieces of like, well,
Yes.
there's my broader question first before we dig into some things,
Yeah.
but in my experience, and I still don't know a lot about this stuff, is
Totally.
people when people say AI,
Hmm.
from what I've seen, a lot of people assume that that's what machine learning is, but
Yep.
So if I don't know if you want to just kind of elaborate on that
Yes.
thought.
Good. That's a great question. Because, well, let's be honest. AI has been around for a while, and no one was saying machine learning. Us old people will know that. If you want to like disavow that you're old, don't nod to this statement. But I was at an arcade playing Street Fighter, and no one was next to me, and it was fighting back against me, right? So what's happening there? And what happened is AI is this blanket term for things that appear to be sentient or to make human-like decisions in almost like a biological sense, right? And we have this originally when you're playing those games, we have algorithms that people wrote in order to sort of figure out what's going on. And then we also had sort of like developers coding little cheats and hacks and plans and things that it can do to identify. And so they were just as good as the developer actually made them. I remember back in the day, there was like this way to beat a game where you would just do the same moves over and over and over again, and AI had like the coder missed it, right? So
Yeah.
it was never going to like you were able to beat that level just by doing some silly thing. And I think like the internet's filled with a lot of these hilarious moments where like the developers missed something
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
and you just see something ridiculous happen, or you beat a level by like jumping over something. It's a lot of fun. But what started to happen is that GPUs and computers started to be able to process this extreme amount of data. And then we entered a world of data. When I joined Facebook in like 2004 for like making my first Facebook page is what I'm saying. And I didn't work there.
Mhm.
What happens is I was like, okay, this is sort of like how this is going to work. But now we start to see like this is where data is coming from. We
Yeah.
are all
Yeah.
uploading. We are all digital. Digital cameras are here, and so now we're in a wealth of data. So if I needed tomorrow to make a is this a kangaroo or not webcam project, or like find the kangaroo in the photo, right? I have so many photos of kangaroos that I can access.
Yeah.
Whereas if you went
Yeah.
back to let's go back 20 years or 10 years even, like I had to find somebody who ran around with a camera with a
Yeah.
kangaroo farm somewhere. Just wasn't something I could
Yeah.
ever get a hold of. And
Yeah.
we've got just this overflowing amount of data. And so the trick is we can teach the computers to learn from data rather than having a person explicitly program what it is.
Yeah.
And that is the giant thing. That's the machine learning advantage. And so that's why you're hearing machine learning so much. Because in the world of AI, it could incorporate, people coding, how to play tic-tac-toe with a bunch of if-then statements.
Yeah.
Or you can feed it a ton of tic-tac-toe games, and then it will like learn from that and it'll play better and then get better and better. And with tic-tac-toe, there's so few permutations, it's pretty easy to figure it out.
Yeah.
You can make super tic-tac-toe like 18 by
I
18.
did actually. Do you want me to show you?
I think. Oh, that was a good
Yes.
segue for a demo. Yes.
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 Yeah.
Yes.
Let
Yes.
me
Nailed it.
let me go ahead and see here. So I made something I think is a really good demo for this. And let me share my screen. So this is sharing, and hopefully you can see my screen right now.
Yep.
All right. Okay, so this is how it works. We have TensorFlow tic-tac-toe.co. It rhymes. TensorFlow tic-tac-toe.co. I wasn't so cheap not to buy the .com. It just needed to rhyme.
I like that.
And it's
Yep.
super simple. So I love this. When I first started learning about AI, I said, I'm going to build this. And it took me years. It took me a long time to build this because I just never came back to it. But I'm really glad I did. And what I want to show you here is like, um, right now I've got an AI, and the AI has no data, none.
Okay.
It doesn't know anything. So I'm gonna tell it to make a move right now, right? And so it goes on top. That's actually not a bad move, right? That's actually pretty good. So I'm gonna
Yeah.
tell it to play again. Okay, that's dumb. Um, that's a bad move in tic-tac-toe.
Oh yeah,
And then
that's a deal breaker.
oh, look at this. Look at this. Now let's see what O does. O is of course going to do nothing. That was terrible.
Oh.
So
Boo!
now we
Oh,
know
boo!
X is going to go ahead and steal the deal right here. Oh wait, it actually did. Okay. That was my randomness.
X is a little bit smarter.
And
Yeah.
to be honest, like X usually doesn't know how to like finish tic-tac-toe. It's like so we're good. But it actually did well there. So
Touch and
We're
go.
that works out.
not to bully O. It's
Yeah.
okay.
Oh,
O's learning. O will
poor
get there.
O.
Yeah.
So what I could do now is on my machine right now, I could tell it like, hey, play a little bit more like X or play a little bit more like O. Learn from one of these
Oh.
two right now. And so
Okay.
I'm gonna tell actually I don't like that game at all. So I'm gonna just like I'm gonna play a game and then I'm gonna beat O really well. Like I'm gonna do a real move like that. And then this will
Okay.
be tic tac. So that's a good one. So I want X to play like that. And so
Mhm.
that's good. And so now I've got it set. So what's really cool is that well, it won anyway. So I don't know what I'm going to be showing you that it learned because it would. But if I make X move and if I imitate like that last game, or actually if I even like I'm gonna go back a move. If I imitate something similar, it should be
Mhm.
able to still be able to beat me.
Okay.
Oh no, you still need a lot to learn, X. You're failing me, X, because it starts off completely random and silly. But
Yeah.
what I'll do here is I'm going to go back. I'm going to show it what it should have done. So I'm going to say, like, you should have done
Mhm.
that.
Okay.
And then I'm going to say, learn that move, dude. So now I'm hitting this, and it's running through the data, and it learned there. So I'm going to see what happens here. So let's do it like this. And let's see if it won't make that same mistake again, right? It did. All right.
Come
Make
on,
that look
X.
bad, X.
This is live coding. This is what always happens.
No,
Yeah.
I
Live
don't know how many
demo,
games
not
I need to
coding,
teach
but-
you. All right. I'm making a mistake. Okay, so there we
Nice.
go. It took another game. By the way, we're talking about data. That's 3 games. That's actually a very small amount of data.
Yeah.
But it knew not to do it. After playing this for a bit, you can have an unbeatable AI because it's not going to make the mistakes again, and it actually can, as you notice, it's like able to sort of like slowly grasp some of the symmetry of the board and like how to go ahead and get stuff set up. So now if I play smarter as O and X continues to beat me, I can kind of like play a little bit more and play a little bit more and play a little bit more. And so what's really cool about this is that it starts off generally where neither X nor O know anything about how to play properly. And then
Yeah.
after each game, it picks up and will not make those mistakes again. But also it starts to like catch up a little bit more and actually get more of the concepts. And I would say after about 6 games, if you've played them properly, you've got a pretty mean tic-tac-toe AI.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this brings up a question. So, like, I know,
Yes.
like you were talking about, we need to train the model so it learns
Yes.
to get better.
Good question.
I guess there's the model being like the outcomes you want. Is that the best way to
Mhm.
describe it?
It's an architecture. So a model is this architectural like for developers out there, you could pretend it's a function. It's a function out there. So what happens is the function takes data in and puts data out. At first,
Yeah.
it's a terrible function. It's basically like math.random. Okay.
Okay.
So, which is why I was surprised that it actually won. It accidentally chose out of the 6 remaining steps the correct one on accident because it pretty much is randomness. And what happens is when we pass data through the function, we pass it not in the interpreting space, but we tell it learn from this data.
Yeah.
And then we tell it whether like this is what you should do, this is what you should do, this is what you should do. What starts to happen is the model starts to be better. And so then what I'm actually doing here is the same model at the beginning isn't smart. I give it some data. It gets a little
Okay.
bit better. Give some data, it gets a little bit better. A little bit more data, it gets better. And then what happens is from examples, not me coding, from examples, the data teaches the algorithm. And that's the heart of machine learning.
Cool.
So if we
And
were to make the kangaroo code, I would have a bunch of photos of kangaroos and not kangaroos. And I would say, like, labeled. This is a kangaroo. This is not a kangaroo. This is a kangaroo. This is not a kangaroo. Like that. This is
okay,
called
cool.
supervised learning. There's a lot more than this, but this is called supervised learning. And then when I first ask it, it's going to get 50% accurate because it's basically like randomness. It's
Okay.
not, it's just like flipping a coin. And then you're going to see it get to 60%, 70%, 80%. And the longer I let it train on data, the more data I feed it, then it starts to actually become more and more accurate, starts to approach like 90, 99% accuracy or like human like capabilities of identifying a kangaroo versus not a kangaroo.
Okay. And
Yeah.
so that makes sense for improving the function, aka the model. I guess as you get more data, whoever's creating these models, they'll go like, oh, it didn't catch that kangaroo has ears, so
Mm-hmm.
they have to tweak their function, aka model. And then so like
Mm.
it's not just the data necessarily improving things, it's also they have to tweak their model as well.
No, you tweak the, so you can tweak the model, but most likely you will tweak the data. So
Okay.
if there's a giant bias in the data, let's say that we identify kangaroos of a certain species, or because we only had that, and then we get a different species of kangaroo, and or like let's say like we have a photo with a kangaroo and the ears are cut off, like
Yeah.
it's cropped really or something like that, and it was like we really look for the ears, like that's a big thing for us or something like that. Well,
Yeah.
then honestly, you find out that this is a weakness in the data. The trick is generally if it's able to characterize the kangaroo normally and it's actually doing well, the trick is get more photos of kangaroos with their ears cropped off and then
Okay.
feed that into it so that way it works against that adversarial data. And
Okay.
so when you find where the mistakes are, it's a bias in the data resulting in a bias in the function. So you clean the data and then you pass that through and it cleans the function.
Okay.
And a lot of people get in trouble for this because the bias in the data shows a bias in the data collectors. And people like Google have been very much slapped on the wrist, and they said, "Well, it's not our fault. The data was off." Well, that answer might work for someone who's not Google, who didn't have the ability to go ahead and get that data correct. And then
Yeah.
it always comes back to ethics because this is starting to get very human in quite a few ways, and it should have ethical questions. We should be pushing the ethics of this. But this tic-tac-toe problem, no one's going to write to me and be like, your tic-tac-toe sucked after 3 games, right?
Yeah.
So I think everything works well in sort of like identifying where the data is coming from and what the service is that's associated with it.
Yeah.
I'm glad you
Like,
brought up the
yeah.
ethics because
Yeah,
I
definitely.
actually was going to. I didn't want to put you on the spot, but I was going to ask you a bit kind of how
It
you
always
what you
comes
kind of
up.
thought of that. And yeah, I mean it's important, right? Like there's all
Very,
kinds of
very
things
important.
that we're using AI for now that have really big implications. So I'm just kind of wondering your thoughts around that and what you
Oh
think,
yeah.
if you have any more to
Yeah.
say about it.
Yeah, well, I think the worst part about all this is the mystery behind it. And I think that really the best thing we can do is democratize AI and teach everybody about it so that way we can actually attack this problem properly. Because
Yeah.
up until
Mhm.
now, almost everything we have on robotics, machine learning, and AI comes from science fiction, which almost always needs like a villain, for the story to
Yeah.
be told.
Yeah.
So as we're getting all these stories from, the history of AI leading up to now, it was either most likely like something in the background or a villain in what's going on.
Yeah.
And then as we take a look at how people are applying it, we are taking a look at leaders like Google and other people who tried to take a step forward without thinking about ethics, and we've held them accountable for it. And now we're seeing diversity data sets, which I'm very, very happy about. IBM released 50,000 diverse spaces data set for people like us to be able to
Okay.
learn and train and build cool stuff like that.
Yeah.
And what a great gift back to the community, because if I were to train something on, perhaps I was trying to see if you're wearing a mask or not, or wearing glasses or not.
Yeah.
I only have my face. Like, it's really hard for me to, like, you'd have, I could make 100,000 photos of me like moving around this room, right?
You got your
But that's
beard
not going to
there. That
go.
might be a
Yeah,
problem.
Right? There's a bias for some reason when it's only 100,000 photos of Gant, right? So what I love is like IBM donated to the community, and a lot of the data that comes from academia and stuff like is getting like brought back, and that's because people have held these companies to a higher standard, and that's awesome. Because
Yeah.
we want, if I want to build, hey, I'm helping you find whether or not somebody's wearing a mask or not, and I'm doing that kind of code. I need a hugely diverse data set to work with, and that's not
Yeah.
easy for me to have, and it's not easy for a lot of developers to have. Like, you've
Yeah.
got to have a great machine, all that stuff. So donation of resources like that to the community is democratizing AI, which I think is probably the best way to handle the ethics of it.
So I guess in a nutshell,
Well, I
if you are,
appreciate your point there.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Go ahead, Nick.
No, I was just gonna say is if you're building out an AI product, you cannot ignore this anymore. Like, I mean, I know
No.
companies still,
Yeah.
Yeah.
some have done
Yeah.
it still from media, obviously, but
Yeah.
like basically it's just a bad idea all around if you're not diversifying your data set.
Right. Right. You've got an improper product, and you've got an improper process. So
Yeah.
yeah,
Especially
there's
depending
a
on the kinds of things you're working with. Like if you're doing tic-tac-toe, you're probably fine. If you're doing something
yeah,
where you may end up
Yeah,
having the police using it or something, let's
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
let's fix these
We
things.
we caught the tic-tac-toe killer. His name was yeah.
Toe killer always kills 3 in a row. Watch out
Yeah.
for him. And he
Oh
leaves a
no.
note that says,
Oh.
he says like, "Oh, we'll always lose. Why? Why is the O hate?"
Oh man. Um, I'll do a awkward segue, but we were talking about diversity and like faces.
Yeah,
I feel like you probably have some kind of demo with faces, maybe, or is that something you
I
have?
do. I
Or
have lots of demos with faces.
okay,
So I have one that I did. So I'll let you pick.
Okay.
I have one that I did that was for identifying, like the emotions of your audience.
okay,
Do you have a lot
Okay.
of? Do you have people on the stream right now that we could do that one live? It'd be
yeah, yeah,
interesting.
yeah. There's
Okay.
folks.
Well, we
Okay.
can't bring them on.
No, you don't have
You
to.
mean to see their faces? Oh, okay. Got
No.
you.
This is what we'll do. So I'll do this one next. Let's
Okay,
see here.
Okay.
So this one, and this one's definitely like a teaching tool. It's a gift to the community, and it's based on a bunch of like pretty awesome existing models out there. Of course, it could do better. Oh no, wrong screen. What am I doing? The
oh,
infinite loop.
Inception.
I made the infinite loop happen, huh? Okay, here we go. This is
Okay.
There we go. So I made this one. This was a really cool project. It's called Enjoying the Show. So it's enjoying the dot show,
Okay.
and
I get it.
let's call this. So everybody who's watching, if you could go to join the room here and type in dev, all lowercase like that. So if you go to join a room, type dev. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to watch the room dev over here. I'm sure your stream has a little bit of a delay.
Yeah, I was gonna
So
Yeah,
say
we
that. So you
do.
might just need to wait like a minute.
oh yeah, I'm sure it's going to be a little bit weird. So the people who join the dev room, if you have your webcam going, you probably have to fight webcams, and it probably won't work for. I don't know if we'll be able to do for us as well. But
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah, we might not be able to.
y'all specifically here might not be able to join, but the people in the audience would be able to join. And what happens is, enjoying the show was when a project that when I was at conferences, I would talk to people and I'd be able to see people in the audience, right? And it would be really nice to see them and interact with them. And so when I say something funny, I'd be able to see them smile or laugh or whatever. So enjoying the show was that sort of same idea, but using AWS Amplify and AI. And what happens is if you go to the room, you're in the audience. So if you're in the audience room, what happens is you'll be there. Oh, good. You're jumping in there real quick. Sharing your camera.
I'm gonna try it out.
Yeah, there's two people.
Perfect. Yeah. And so what happens is once you're in there, this is great because you'll be the live. There you are. Or someone is.
Okay.
So what's happening here is I've got a pie chart of the feeling of the people in that room. Oh, somebody smiled. So
Yay.
I don't know if that's you. Is that you?
I was
Are you?
Three people in the room.
Yeah. Are you smiling?
Yeah.
Oh, we got more people. Different emotions.
Yeah.
So we see people. Someone's making a sad face right now and fear. So what's great is so I can sit here and then I could see go ahead and make go ahead and make silly faces. You can see people like you can't help yourself. As soon as you join here, you start making ridiculous faces at the camera. When I was testing this out, I was in an airport. I was just staring at the camera like I was making all these faces and then
I do not want to be on the plane with this person.
Yeah. I'm just laughing because I'm just glad my face is not streaming right now because I'm making very ridiculous faces.
So the idea here is, I know with a stream, it's a little bit more difficult, but as people are in here, and they, so we've got facial recognition on their side, right? And then it's, so actually facial localization finds the face, and then sentiment analysis, sort of like, is this person happy, sad, fearful, angry? I love watching all the faces that people are making at the camera. This is kind of happening. If you've got this in real time, you can be like, all right, everybody be happy. And you see it happen like all at the same time. But with a stream, I don't think there's any way we can coordinate it. I can tell a joke and like 20 seconds later, we'll see a blip of sadness over here. But what ends up happening is that this gives us sort of like what's happening. It takes the sentiment. Now it's not sending your face to me. It's not sending your face. It takes a string that says like happy, sad, or whatever. Sends that off to the server through Amplify, and then I've got an Amplify GraphQL subscription on the watch page that turns it into a victory chart like this. And then now I'm able to watch in real time with the subscription updating from what people are sending. We've done this with over 100 people in it, by the way. And if you ever like are trying to show a demo or something, you could do this with an audience. Everybody's got their laptops up at a talk anyway. You could do this in person as well. And this is not like a charge for service yet or anything. I have no idea if someone would pay us to go ahead and turn this into one, but that'd be awesome. Like if you're screening a movie, I imagine you want to know if people think it's funny or not. But make sure people know that their faces are getting recognized. Like, don't be creepy, right? We're coming back to ethics. We always come back to comedians. Yes. Right? You can find out what joke worked and what joke didn't work. So we have 4 people and they're all just kind of sitting there neutral, listening to us right now, and you can kind of tell what's going on. Faces. Well, they were all making faces the entire time. It was hilarious. So and to create a room like this, you just have to name it. So we named this one Dev. But if you go back to the main page, I'd like someone see that someone said they wanted happiness. So there it is.
There we go. Anybody sad?
So, yeah, I do. Yeah.
Oh, that's too bad. I hope you're okay.
So it's a lot of fun, and then so you could share the link. So I'm gonna go back to the main page, and everybody can kind of like you could run this experiment anytime you'd like. Just have your audience members join a room. You could even share the link directly. You don't have to go to the main page. And then we watch a room, and then you could. Here's the experiment I did with a bunch of people from work. We had a lot of fun. I was telling everybody like smile, frown, be surprised. So you can see all the different expressions that we got.
That's amazing.
But it's a really cool experiment. So first thing is a model that's identifying. Let me go ahead and get the screen back here. You have. Oh, oops. All right, good. Am I still here? It asked me a question. It was like, how'd the stream go? I was like, is it over?
No.
Oh no, you're still here.
So what happens is the first thing it does is you're trying to get a model that localizes faces, right? Then the
Mm-hmm.
model that localizes faces identifies landmarks on a face. That's a second totally different model that you could train by a bunch of people that placed landmarks on a face, or
Okay.
actually having it learn which landmarks are the most unique to each face, right? The most expressive ones. And then you take that model and then you take those data points. There's just like a grouping of 256 floating point numbers, right? And then you train another model that says like, when they're like this, is that a smile? When they're like this, is it like a frown? When it's like this, is like that. So you've got three models that are happening there,
Yeah.
and they're all running. Like one's finding a face, then it's saying like here's the points, and then here's saying like what it is, and then that gives you like we're 95% sure that they're happy, or we're 60%, whatever the majority one is that's the one we're sending off to the server.
Okay.
So that's an exploration between like a bunch of different models that all do a singular task. They're all like a function. Here's a photo. Where's the face? Give me
Yeah.
that's a model. It's a function. Here's a face. Where are the points? Here's the points. Where's the sentiment? Like what are they? Is this a sad construction of the points or a happy construction of the points?
Yeah.
And then we send that off to the server. So that is like really kind of clearly explaining like what's going on there. And then people
Yeah.
use that same sort of like technology for identifying who people are and facial recognition, which can be used as
Mhm.
awesome security to set off an alarm in your house when you're
Yeah.
walking around. There's someone who didn't come in through the front door or shouldn't be in your office. Super awesome. Or it's in the wrong hands, completely unethical, like we've seen this past year in the US.
Yeah.
I'll just leave it at that.
Yep.
Yeah. No,
Yeah.
I gotta say
I mean,
this
to
is
touch
a
on that a little bit, besides what, yeah, all the other things, that's something where I've seen it used for like fun, like people doing like emojis and things that will like,
Yeah.
pop up if there's fun,
Yes.
but also for where a diverse set would be really, really useful, because I've seen people like from different cultures and things like that where they'll say like they're angry or things like that, and it's not. That's just like their
Yeah.
expression or their facial
Yeah.
features, and so you have to really like be careful with those kinds of things, because
Yes.
someone will think you're angry or mad or something like that when you're not. You're like, I'm not. So it's like one of those things that's like you also have to think about and be careful with.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a really interesting new problem, and what I love about it is that data science is actively going after sort of like bigotry because the information is worldwide, and
yeah.
I really do
Mhm.
appreciate that, and I think that can only be done with everybody understanding and going after it together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I gotta say, I really enjoy this demo because it is fun, obviously, but
Mm.
it's like a project that I think people would find interesting to try to make
Yeah.
to learn, and you'd be having a ton of fun doing
Mhm.
this. You're like, oh no, it's not smiling, let's try again. It's like it's like it's one of those it just seems like a great learning tool or like a project to
Yeah.
make just
Yeah.
enjoying yourself.
There's so
Especially the
many
different pieces.
yeah,
Yeah.
it,
Yeah.
The
well,
different models, like you're explaining.
to tie that in there is that like I mean, with what I just said to you all about like the different stuff you've done, some of you out there have an idea right now, like, oh, I could be doing X, Y, Z, or this or that. I mean, I think
Yeah.
when you said comedians, right? That's a
Mhm.
business model. Like,
Yeah.
ta-da, done.
Yeah.
Like, there's so many things, and this is the beauty of it. Like, once you start to see it, it's it's impossible to stop coming up with really cool ideas that actually come out of this. And as far as like how it applies to business, I find that yeah, like sure the idea is playful and it's easy to code, but in a lot of ways it's a great disruptor for so much because every startup is like they're saying AI all the time. Like that's
Yeah.
where
Yeah.
the trend is. And developer have fun, let's have fun and let's build some cool and interesting things. Because this is, I think, in 5 years, the stuff we're talking about. What is a model? How is it training? Like, how trained is it? What is the accuracy? What's the bias? What's the F1 score? We need to worry about here. Like, these are all going to become terms that we're going to have to become familiar with because they're going to be happening in, like your dev stand-ups in them.
Mhm. Yeah, I think
And
that's pretty funny. It's funny because you just like you mentioned, now that we were talking about it, I thought, oh man, I'm thinking like of 5 different things right now that you
Yeah.
can do just with the face recognition for like, especially during the pandemic and different things you can. It's like,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
interesting that you bring it up.
Well, let me
Because I even
know.
had the moment of like, I didn't even think about it for like, people, because I don't have an iPhone with the face recognition, but like, you got your
yeah,
iPhones with your face recognition to turn it
Yeah.
on. Like,
Yes.
there's all
Yeah.
these
yeah.
things that you
Exactly. Yeah.
Well, that brings
Well,
up another interesting point about the iPhone because, like, obviously, pandemic, everybody's got masks on. Like, I remember reading like
Yeah.
people not being able to unlock their phones because of the
Yeah.
masks. It's like,
What and the sad part is like, why did it take Apple so long to do that? So someone came up with a trick where you take off half your mask and then you add like an alternate face with like
okay,
half a mask on one side, and then you do a half a mask on the other side, and then it's supposedly it can read you with the mask on and with the mask off.
Hmm.
And it was like a
okay,
neat trick, but um that was a huge missed opportunity. There should have been an update that got pushed out that said like, "Hey everybody, pandemic, we're here to help. We'd like to run you through your mask setup process. Here's what the
Yeah.
damage it will do to your security if you accept this. We're unable to identify certain features of your face, but if you accept these and you're willing to do this because you're trying to unlock your phone in public, what do you accept and what you don't accept?" I
yeah,
think that would be like, man, that's a missed opportunity. That would have been a great
Yeah.
one. And to this day, I'm out with my mask on and I have to type in my code.
yeah. I have an older iPhone, so I have the thumb press. So,
Ah, yeah.
so
I
I'm
have
old school.
the bad Huawei, but I like my Huawei phone. Big here in Costa Rica.
This one's it's got so much security I don't even need. Like if I hold the phone like this and it doesn't see my face, it like all my things say you have a Twitter notification, and then I turn it towards me. And it's like, here's your Twitter, like here's what's going on, stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah,
There's AI. There's AI for you. Like no one else should be able
Yeah.
to read my notifications on my phone. I could leave it face up on the dinner table, but like it's everywhere. Like
yeah.
that idea was somebody somewhere, and the idea. I think that if this was more prevalent amongst developers, the making the mask work and sending out that message, you know, there's a lot of PhD people who miss the emotional intelligence that's necessary for AI to do this next leap, and I think that that's where we're coming up to next, the next
Okay.
5 years and such. The developers who understand QA, who understand product, who understand clients, who have to actually interact with that. Now that AI is kind of reaching us, we're going to start seeing some really cool stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
that
definitely.
that brings up another interesting thing. I don't know all the details, but I've read briefly on GPT-3. So
Yeah,
like
yeah.
that's generating UIs and stuff. I'm curious what your thoughts are on that.
It is. Well, they just basically got an AI and they fed it the internet. So
Yeah.
OpenAI
Yeah.
was like, let's make the biggest monster and feed it everything. And I think it was like $12 million worth of development to make GPT-3. And,
Wait,
the,
wait, wait, wait. For people out there, is that the one where you can like type something where
yes,
you're like flex or not even flexbox? I don't know exactly but you're like typing out what you want it to do and it like lays it out and stuff like for
yeah,
the UI. Is
it's
that the
almost
one you're
like
talking about?
it's semi understanding with a
Oh, okay.
NLP trying to actually specifically get what it is and what the context of the conversation is, which is where AI sort of has trouble with context.
Hmm.
But they've just threw so much data at it. And one of the cool things that I want to kind of explain to you real quick about AI is that I can train something on my machine for a week. And it sits
Okay.
there and it works and it looks at data and it looks at other things and it's running the whole time. But what pops out the other end is a function, right? It's
Yeah.
smaller and it's
Hmm.
ready and it's good to go. And then when I need to pass that off somewhere, or that exists on a website somewhere, it's a lot smaller. It's sort of like this what are the features that actually make the thing? And that collection of features is like mathematically balanced so that when you give it a photo or a text or something like that, it knows to properly put the output in prediction or what it believes the next thing should be. So a lot of it's like predictive stuff, like what do I see in this photo, or
Mhm.
what's the text that should be next, things like that. So that's way, 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 way smaller. And
Okay.
I think like ethically, people are pretty anti AI on like how much energy it takes to make these things. But once they're made,
Yeah.
the great thing that I don't think people understand, and that's why it starts to like grind against them, is that then it runs on very little power. It goes on all
Yeah.
these little devices, and that's the goal, is to like not drain your battery
Yeah.
because you're doing an Instagram filter.
Yeah.
The goal is to build
Yeah.
hardware that's low voltage, low difficulty, and um, kind of get it there. So I have a project that I guess I could. This is another one. I'm not going to demo it, but I'll talk about it. I'll give you
Okay.
the link.
Mhm.
This is an undemoable project. We
Okay.
did a community project as a way to give something back to stop people from uploading indecent content. So
Mhm.
let's say that you're throwing a conference and someone sends another person a photo, right? You have this weird problem. Am I supposed to be able to see your photos to be like a moderator for it? No, maybe,
Mhm.
maybe not. Things like that. Like, why not have AI flag something, and then you could say, "Hey, I accept." Like, unblur this. I'm okay. I know
Mhm.
this person. It's okay. So like with that kind of situation, you can be very pessimistic and be like, okay, you want to be careful with this or be careful with that. And
Yeah.
so I trained using Reddit. Everybody always asks where I got the data set for this. Reddit. Okay. Reddit's full of filth.
Why
Okay.
am
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
why
Yeah.
am I not surprised?
With Reddit, it's also moderated, where if people post
Yeah.
inappropriate things to certain channels, it's immediately cleaned out.
Yeah.
So the good thing about this is the history of Reddit is a fantastic like teacher. And so using Reddit, we created this project called Not Safe for Work JS. And Not Safe for
Okay.
Work JS trained on all kinds of craziness, which it doesn't have to be perfect. It just needs like gigabytes of data sitting there. No one needs to even
Mhm.
look at it. And then what ends up happening is it's a nsfwjs.com, by the way.
Okay.
And what you could do there is like once it's trained, you have this small 2 megabyte file
Okay.
that, and we have like a bigger one. We have like a 4 megabyte that's a little bit more accurate. That's your function, and
Okay.
you give it an image, and you say, "Is this image cool?" And it's like, we're 96% sure this image is totally cool. It's
Okay.
neutral. It's fine. And then it comes over there another one. And it's like, oh wait, we are 51% sure this is inappropriate. And then you could make your choice. You'd be like,
Okay.
well, do we blur it and ask the person? Do we flag it? And then
Mhm.
now we have an administrator come in here? Because not all of us are Facebook. They have thousands of people that their job all day is to look at people's content and police it. It's an
Yeah.
extremely, and those people quit their jobs because they hate that.
Yeah.
This is
Yeah.
where AI shines. Don't make
Yeah.
people have to do this. And we made it free, and we made it available, and we made it in JavaScript, and it's out there. It's as a gift to work with the community, because if you threw a conference tomorrow, can you afford to have people sitting there in your chat app all day, like making sure that everything's good? No,
Yeah.
like none of us
Yeah.
can,
No, that's a
but
good
AI
point.
can, and it doesn't sleep. So I think it's a great opportunity to like help fight against cyberbullying, people doing indecent stuff, is to sort of like be able to have this layer out there. And it's really cool. It's actually been used in a lot of projects. People come back to us. It's got like 4,000 stars plus on GitHub.
Cool. Cool.
Really cool project, and it's really taken off well, and people are using it constantly.
That's
So is
nice.
that
Like
the
from
kind
a
of thing Oh, go ahead, Nick.
no, no, go ahead.
Is that the kind of thing that's being used on, say, like, I don't know about you all, but as a woman on the internet, a lot of times on like Twitter and stuff, if I get a DM that like they're like, you may not want to look at this, is that the kind of AI being used for stuff like that?
Yeah, indecent content checking is a service for a lot of companies and stuff like that. Like it's so there's a lot of people out there that are actively working on stuff. This one is free, and its cool thing is it can fit
Mhm.
client side. So like let's say you wanted to like tell them like don't upload this, don't do
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
And then you could, the same way we checked sentiment analysis for your face, nextdoor.com does it for text. So if you're about to type a comment like, hey, silly goose, I don't like you and I'm going to punch you in the face. If you type that on nextdoor.com, it says, remember, we're all neighbors and they can read this and like you still want to send this, right? And what they're doing there is they're checking for toxicity and they're could have a false flag, obviously. It could be, I love cold potatoes. And like, do you really want to tell people that? Cold potatoes is kind of like a weird thing, but you could override it. So like what's great about it is like that exists client side. So I don't know how Nextdoor is actually doing that particular technology, but using like toxicity detection and not safe for work JS is a great way to sort of like kind of clean it up. So yeah, there's a lot of people sort of handing off the work that you would not want to do as a human being, and seeing AI come in here and help the community out.
I definitely feel like AI is got to be an amazing tool for moderation. It's probably not perfect, but it's definitely because people do not scale for moderation.
Exactly. And I'll throw that out there is that that is so true. Somebody told me an idea or that they thought it would be a good one, and I believe strongly that this is something that's got to be already in development or out there. But like, I haven't seen this. I don't have like the official link to kind of give you on it. But gun detections at a bank.
Okay.
Because you've seen the security guards, and then you've seen like the 9 cameras situation and stuff like that. As a human being, if a gun flashes for a second, if I see it, that's great. But what happens is AI can watch 9 cameras. You have 9 instances of that function, right? As developers, we think about this. We have 9 cameras. We have 9 instances of the function. Any one of them flags off. It goes off, shoots off to the server, sets off like whatever needs to happen, tells a human to go investigate or check up on something. And then that's something we could never replace is that human interaction. But then again, that human interaction doesn't hold a candle to what you could do with AI on something like that.
Yeah.
And it can help everybody.
Yeah, and I guess in that example that you're talking about, it could be more than just like seeing the gun. It could be like obviously reaching or mannerisms to like be ready to. I don't know. I've never fired a gun, so but
posture, bulge, like weird stuff. Like you start like getting like hey, why don't you go over here? Yeah. I mean, I don't want to go to Minority Report where we're gonna like stop crimes before they happen, but I do want to get to the point where we, like computers are getting better than humans or at human-like capabilities with certain things. So let's use that in the positive, good ways. I mean, you could tomorrow be like, yes, and then you're going to go use AI to like totally destroy the stock market, right? That's got its incentive. Or you could go out there and you could like identify like food ration problems, in third world countries. And I think that like what the important part here is that we all know what the problems are. We know why we're spending time with what we're spending time with and what we could be spending our time with and make the appropriate decisions. And you're only going to get that when everybody is like on the same page. And unfortunately, due to the nature of most stuff, like it's been kind of like kept to people's heart because it's a product in itself to be able to do that magic trick that no one else can do. It's an easy way to make money, and I think that we're going to see the real product coming up in the next 5 years. The real stuff that where people are really finding ways to like connect in, and I think that comes into the EM, like the emotional intelligence that people are going to be bringing to this.
I think it's also a good point, just kind of bringing back a little that you said, like, when you had the example of at the bank, you have the AI doing its work and then you have the people. I think sometimes when people hear AI or machine learning, there's this sense of like, it's going to take over and take everything that we have. I think it's a good, with any technology throughout. history
Right.
that people have to realize that, we can work with the technology and it's not one or the other. It's not like only people, only technology, that we can work with these things together for something better.
Jobs getting lost and things like that, and don't get me started. That we could do a whole episode on the measure of humanity as the measure of jobs that we have. I think like if you imagine, I'll place this here, like the ideal society probably has 0 jobs, and if we're doing it right and we're all living our best lives.
Yeah.
And so what I'll kind of say is like that measurement doesn't work with a futuristic sense, and everybody's working through the fiction. Like we mentioned Terminator, right?
Yeah.
So our history is like a bunch of bad guys in AI, and it is of course a possibility if if people are using it poorly, maliciously, if all our AI is going to control drones. I would rail heavily against that. I think that there's like a productized, wonderful world of like cool stuff that we all need to build and be ready and understand and build things to connect people. That's what the internet's always been great, a free and open community. I lean directly into that. Keep the internet open, keep the community growing, and let's keep building something cool together.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's
Sweet.
great points.
Well, I think we talked to Gant before this that we would love to have him on another time, and we want to kind of leave everyone in this sense of like there's still a lot more we can talk about. I don't know if you have maybe one more demo or something else you want to add in.
So many demos, to be honest. Like so,
or if you want to do a couple demos here at the end, that's fine too. I like your demos.
I will save some. I'm doing this one right now for a chapter that I'm writing, where it's just some cool stuff. But I have plenty more. So I'm going to give you a quick taste of something. I haven't written the blog post for it yet, and it's like this is the first place that I'm actually going to be talking about it, and then I'm actually
exclusive content.
Yeah, well, till I go to DevNexus, and then I'll show them a little bit too. So you and DevNexus get to have this, but you get it first.
Cool.
This I just actually yesterday pulled up all the crazy stuff I've written over the past 2.5 years or stuff like that where I've kind of gotten into TensorFlow JS and made like lots of websites that are easily accessible, crazy stuff. I have a lot of weird stuff to show, but let me show you. Let me show you this one real quick. I think this is kind of a cute thing. So back to like the teaching tools of stuff. So let me share here, and I'll go to AIsortinghat.com. And
nice. I've done a sorting hat thing, but not with AI. So this is cool.
Yeah, sorting hat. So are you able to see?
One, but not
not
AI.
Hat?
Yeah, there's an API. It's not that great, but you can do like there's a Harry Potter API, and you can do a sorting with it.
Oh, what? That sounds awesome. Yeah. Okay, perfect. Yeah, well, I'll have to kind of check into that a bit. Do y'all see my screen here? You see the 4 houses?
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, this is like a great like beginner fun thing, and I think kids would love this as well, and coders would love this as well. This is one that I've been just kind of started on, and the idea was teaching you to do a drawing and then having it sorted into whatever house it is. So here we have just a regular HTML canvas, and so I can like draw on it like this, and then when I kind of do that, you can see it thinks I'm in Ravenclaw. So let me just try to like not be Ravenclaw. This is a snake now, like bad snake.
It's trying. I see.
Yeah, he's getting there. It's like maybe it's a tadpole.
Yeah, I can see like Slytherin and
like
Ravenclaw fighting.
It's a snake with a nicotine habit.
It does. I'm not a very good artist, by the way. Here we go. Like
this is an original Gant. So these will be on sale after, by the way.
These are actually no. I'm deleting this one. I can get a snake like this. See, there I am. This is.
There we go.
This is how a human would, in a game of Pictionary, draw a snake, right? They wouldn't do what the hell I just did. Like, what was that? 3D. Yeah. There you go. And so now this is obviously Slytherin. You can check there's different stuff out there, and so you could try to draw a lion or a tiger, a badger for Hufflepuff, a raven for Ravenclaw, and a it's not a snake. They call it what This is whatever it is.
Basilisk, is that it?
Yeah,
The-
they do have a basilisk, right? A
yeah.
serpent for Slytherin.
Serpent.
That's what it is.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah.
Serpent.
And so the idea here is that the AI, we have this demo that you see all the time in machine learning, which is draw a number. What number do you see? And I'm so sick of that example. If you decide to learn AI, they will have write a number and then what number does the AI see? Write a number, what number is it? It's a classic data set that happened in 2006 that gave birth to deep neural networks. Everybody's seen it forever. I'm sick of it. So I have draw a creature and then join your particular Hogwarts house. I love this a million times better than drawing the number 8.
Material.
Yes.
Yeah.
This is actually the Harry Potter one I did was so I could teach something when I was teaching. So this is my kind of teaching material.
I love it. Yeah, this is so cool. And then you can download the sketch. It gives you like an actual. So actually, I want to show you. Well, I have a little Easter egg here. I'll just tell you right now. You know the bad guys in Harry Potter. Sorry, everybody, if you don't know anything about Harry Potter or how bored you are.
Spoilers.
There you go. Uh-oh.
Oh, no.
That is fun.
Either
so
that
then
or
I
it's
can
the Punisher.
download the sketch here. And here, let me go ahead and clear that drawing out so it goes away. It fades away there. And you can see that particular drawing, let me kind of click it here. My drawing was a Death Eater.
That shows up in the cloud. Yeah, okay, I get it. Yeah.
Yes, indeed. Yeah. So I have a little secret in there. It looks for skulls, and then it'll sort you not in any house at all. It'll send you off to being a Death Eater. It's just kind of a fun example, and I think like these are some of the things that we're all learning. These are some of the aspects that you kind of do. Like if I had to code this without machine learning, without examples of drawings that went ahead and taught the machine how to see drawings, I have no idea how I would tell it like to see a skull. You know, like as a developer, that blows my mind. I don't have to build this. I had to acquire a ton of drawings. That was actually supplied by a subset of drawings that is provided by Google when Google did Quick Draw, and then trained a machine learning model to just simply identify these. And that was really cool. So I had tens of thousands of drawings used to kind of like make this happen. And it's kind of a cool aspect of that. So I really like this. I love the Harry Potter theme. A little fun and energetic sort of like style and demo. And it's way more fun than drawing the number.
I'm gonna reiterate what I said before, but I love all these demos because they are fun. Like they were probably fun to build, you know. And I think I think enjoying building something else, it just helps with the learning. So I think it's great that you have tons of these.
I have plenty more. I would love to come back. We can build some crazy cool stuff. I could show you some interesting things. And then oddly enough, I want to say, if something you saw here inspired you to build something, reach out to me. I'd be happy to tell you. I actually had someone saw one of my projects and said, "Hey, I have this idea based off of something that you made. Is this something that can happen?" I said, "Absolutely." And we built some stuff together. And then Chris Beekler, he went ahead and released it as a Chrome plugin. So I was like, "That's really cool." So maybe we could come back and touch on that stuff. Really cool.
I have a goal now this year because I've been in a creative coding funk lately that I'm going to do something fun with machine learning this year. I will send it to you when I eventually get it done. But this is a goal of mine now.
I think it would be super fun. I mean, we do live pairing sessions. I think it'd be cool if we have some kind of project that we could time box to or at least build out part of it. I think that would be super fun because then it's hands-on and if we had a GitHub repo or something, I'm just brainstorming. We could have people in the crowd following along, you know, kind of like a workshop stream. I don't know, but we'd definitely love to have you on again for sure.
I love it. This is honestly, it's a great exploration into it. And you know, a lot of the fun energy that it comes out of these things that you see in these demos comes from our conversations with people reaching out and interacting, saying, "Hey, I have this idea on this product, like what's involved?" They reach out in one way or another. And one of the great things that comes back from this is like, what is exciting? What makes it fun? Because in the academic world, in 2006, identifying what character someone drew on a piece of paper was awesome. It was super
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah.
But we've got to compete with Instagram filters today. So we need the updated
Yeah.
version of
Yeah.
all these things. And that's coming from the community.
Yeah.
Someone
there's- yeah.
wants you to make something that detects if a joke is a Gant joke or not. So there you go. There's a new idea.
And you basically, it looks at your face, and if you're groaning, it's a Gantt joke.
I guess the
someone else
tough part
mentioned
would
that
be
for like dad
yeah.
jokes. Can we build something that like detects peak times at a dad joke? That was another.
Or pun detector. I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be
There you
good.
go.
I like it.
No, I definitely think I want to do some kind of fun project too this year. I got a bunch of things on the go at the moment, but
Yeah,
it definitely seems like we definitely got to do something fun with this. So.
sounds good. Let's come up with something. We'll do. I'd love to come back, and then let's talk about ideas for a live coding thing.
Yeah.
I'm always interested in whether people are looking for the interesting side of things or the financial, like how can I use this to improve my company? Because the truth
Okay.
is, recommendation engines are a great way to, like, if you've got a product and you want to say what do I recommend underneath that,
Mhm.
that's where the money is at for all kinds of stuff.
Yeah.
But also at the same time, it's a little bit less visual. It's a little bit less like
Yeah.
fun and interesting. So we could code something like a song recommender, stuff like that. Or we could actually get into things that are like a little bit more, or just silliness, pure silliness. I'm always, I'm always an advocate for Twitter fodder and cool things like that. So works out.
Cool. Well, we're getting close to 2:30, so I think we're gonna wrap it up, and we're gonna leave it on a cliffhanger. In that we're gonna have Gant back at some point, and we're gonna make some fun stuff. Christina's gonna drop all the links where you can find Gant. And I just wanted to say I had a super fun time today. It's
Thank you,
just
man.
a lot of fun, lots of great information here. Definitely give Gant a follow on Twitter,
Yes.
and I think Christina's gonna post it. But you also have a newsletter, email newsletter for
Yes.
AI.
Yeah,
cool.
you can't be in the AI world and not see all kinds of cool things coming out all the time. So I have a newsletter, and it's already got like 6,000 subscribers. AIFYI.com, AI-FYI.com, and
Nice.
on there, as I find interesting and cool things, I put them in there, and that way you can make sure you catch it all.
Awesome. Well, thanks again, Gant. Thanks everybody for tuning in, and we'll be back next Wednesday. We're gonna be live coding pairing with Rafi, who's been one of our more recent consistent contributors. So I'm really excited for that. And then we've got lots of more walkthrough Wednesdays coming out through the year, more pairings. So definitely check us out. We're gonna be on every Wednesday for the unforeseeable future. Did I say that right? I don't know. Foreseeable future. Foreseeable. I knew I did it wrong.
The Death Eaters got to him.
Yeah. Cool. Well, thanks everybody.